Carp Anglers. My name is James Sanders and I am the CEO of Team Fish Fighters. You see that little red button down there? It says subscribe. Hit that subscribe button plus the bell button and you automatically be notified automatically with our great carp adventures. Thanks for watching. Hey Carp Anglers, we are finally, wow, that's been a little bit there. I'll get you guys straight up.
Some technical difficulties.
Yeah, we try and get stuff
a different way and it didn't seem to work out.
Yeah, so what we're going to do here, I was trying to get it onto our laptop and it just didn't connect, so I had to go to our phone. So, hey, welcome to Carp Talk, our podcast Carp Talk. My name is James Sanders.
I'm Tommy Pearson.
I tell you, one of our special guests today is Iain.
Iain.
Iain. I didn't say Iain. Did I say Iain?
Yeah.
I didn't say Iain?
No, it sounds like you're saying in.
Oh, Iain.
Like in.
Iain.
Well, like not I-N, but you're just saying
I-A-I-N.
Yeah, it's
So,
Iain.
he's a matter of fact, he's the president of the Carp Anglers group.
Which is also known as CAG for the people that don't know.
It's a non-organization.
It's a non-for-profit.
Yeah, exactly.
Correct.
Called the Carp Anglers Group, aka the CAG. He's been the president since 2017. Again, hey Iain, how you doing, bud? Yeah. Hopefully.
The people watching, I don't mean to cut you guys off. Can the people watching, can you guys hear Iain? Can we get a thumbs up or something like that if you guys can hear him?
Yeah. Anybody? Oh, or to do that.
Do you want to talk a little bit and just see if they can hear me?
Yeah.
No.
No.
I had nobody.
Oh no.
No, but you do need to just kind of switch it though. There's a thumbs up.
Okay, yeah, we got one thumbs up.
Yeah, there you go.
So, we're also doing this. We're doing our YouTube channel too. So if you guys want to see the better, we're also going to put photos of all the carp that Iain's got that he's posted with us. A lot of great pictures that I've seen.
Some very good.
Oh yeah,
some
beautiful
monsters.
Yeah, lots of beautiful carp.
Some carp that some of us that are, including myself, have. We'll get to your PBs and stuff like that here in a few minutes.
So,
but we're just gonna ask some questions. You know, we're gonna pick his brain a little bit. You know, he's fished some fantastic places. Some places I wish I'd. You know, maybe one day I'll be able to go fish. You know, take a trip. Go ahead, James.
So, hey, and why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and, you know, maybe a little bit of a background to kind of people get to know you a little bit better and,
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, moved to the United States in 1994 to Connecticut from jolly old England. And having grown up over there, I did most of my fishing, I guess, from the age of 4 years old.
Wow.
And yeah, I mean, I think just trying to keep me quiet. My mum decided, what do you do with a bored child and driving a nuts? So she took me down to the local canal, stuck a rod in my hand, which was actually in those days an old split cane fly rod, and she just tied a float on the end and put some bait on. And I think my first fish I caught over there was a 4-inch roach, a bit like a 4-inch shine over here. So like most kids, you kind of hate people love it, and I loved it. So that became my passion really for being out the bank, all weather, and eventually, you start wanting to catch bigger and better fish. Carp fishing was very much in its infancy in many respects, but growing quickly in the 70s and certainly into the 80s. So,
see how they can get a bigger.
But it wasn't really until I guy called Mike Wilson, I started to really get into carp fishing, and was very lucky to join probably one of the best known lakes over there, which is Save, and which held some fabulous fish. So I got very lucky in many respects. It was a good apprenticeship. So yeah, I mean that's my background in terms of growing up in England, and as I say, moved over to the United States in 1994. Lived in Connecticut until 2 years ago before moving down into Southwest Florida. So it's another big change in terms of the environment of fishing, but all good fun.
Oh wow, nice. So
He already touched bases on that one right there.
yeah. So go ahead and now we would go ahead. We always have been nitpicking a lot of the other carp anglers' minds all the time, and it's about basically the same kind of questions that we have asked them before. But the questions that we ask is always different from different anglers. So I guess when did your passion for carp fishing start?
Well, it was really, I think growing up in England, you had the angling newspaper that came once a week, and carp were being stocked quite heavily through the late 50s and 1960s especially. So I think they became more and more widely available for people to catch.
Right.
And when you see, I'm trying to think, probably in the early 70s, maybe the late 60s, maybe 1970. I remember sitting down on a lake with a buddy of mine, Andy, and I taking us fishing because we didn't drive then. And then there was a fish, there was some carp cruising along a reed line.
Right.
So, I'd read the Angling Times, I figured out what a floating crust was, we had some bread, so, I cast some out near these reeds. But like most kids at that time, you're kind of concentrating on a float as well.
Right.
I vividly remember out of the corner of my eye, seeing this fish come up and just gulp down this piece of crust. And that was it. I missed it. But it kind of sits in your mind when you realise that you have this opportunity to potentially catch a really big fish. So that started the brain ticking away about trying to catch carp. And this is well before we had herrings and boilies and all those kind of things. So
it was definitely a lot harder back then to catch, right?
I think they were harder to catch in our minds than they were in reality. You still had some of the guys over there fishing hard-boiled potatoes, floating crust and stuff like that.
Really?
Yeah, because obviously we tend to overthink.
Eventually people started, fishing particles, sweet corn, maize, and other things. And then you had the various paste baits and the development of those. But it really wasn't until I got onto, I got a few carp, but nothing really major. It was kind of hit or miss. But when I got onto Save with Mike Wilson, that was a real education. That was a whole different change in tactics and approach. That was late 1979. So I remember sitting on the bank in late 1979 and Mike running down the bank, holding up this rig, which was hanging off with a hook.
Right.
And I'm looking, well, it looks wrong. That doesn't look right. And that was the first introduction to the hair rig, and it was very simple, very basic. Tied some 2-pound pile off every hook.
Yeah.
And you made boilies out of semolina or whatever flavour you had. Which then we made some paste baits out of something called Belacan, which was a shrimp paste you could buy in the Asian supermarkets.
Right.
That proved to be a very, very effective bait, and that was a real education. Suddenly you start to think more about how you bait up the carp, and it was still in many respects, the start of things. So we weren't really into the mass baiting with boilies. We'd done that with particle baits, but not with boilies at that stage. So very, very interesting. And fascinating to see the changes that have happened since then and what we see today.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of, I mean, carp fishing has definitely changed over the
A lot.
years. I could just imagine how much you've seen it evolve
Yeah,
over the years.
Yeah, I mean, I think, there's been huge improvements in fishing tackle, the quality of the tackle, the reliability of the tackle. Back in the 70s, I mean, if you wanted a big triangular net, you either had to make it or buy the components and put it together. Then basic alarms and stuff like that started to come on the market, but it was all really down to people making stuff and developing it. We had kind of supermarket style.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, grocery stores and all that.
Yeah, horribly heavy and uncomfortable. The sleep bags that really weren't fit for anything. I mean, it was very different indeed. And I just love the modern gear. I mean, it makes life so much easier. From everything from the tackle to the if you like the camping equipment, the bivvies, the bed chairs, the quality of all that stuff.
Yeah.
Huge.
It definitely comes in handy when you're in, obviously, somewhere like New York or even Connecticut fishing one of them big tournaments like that.
Oh, huge. Yeah. I mean, you can actually enjoy it rather than just trying to survive.
Yeah.
Now, you're president of CAG. Are you a chairman? Are you still chairman?
Well, I'm the president.
Right.
So, I guess the buck stops here.
I'm the top of the food chain right now, James. Like, come on.
Yeah. Or the bottom, whichever way you want to look at it. But
Right.
I was stuck there for many years, and then I was vice president for a while. And then when Bob Giordano stepped down, I took over as president. So, yeah, it's been an interesting journey. It really has.
Yeah,
And,
Yeah, I'm like, I'm here as a chairman of Indiana, and trying to get people. What would you say? A lot of times you get anglers to join CAG, get carp anglers group, and all that stuff. I mean, I do it. I sort of try to do it with socials, fishing socials. A lot of times, get the word out about carp fishing.
I think from my perspective, I mean, we live in a country where carp are largely seen as vermin by most people. There's a lot of misunderstanding about
How good they are for our ecosystem and stuff like that too.
I think CAG has always been focused on protecting trophy-sized carp. That's the key.
Right.
I mean, there are areas where we know that carp are a potential problem because you have a lot of small fish, but that's often down to key environmental aspects. And I write about that in one of the recent magazines, the North American Carp Angler magazine, which you can actually get online and read online. Maybe you guys can put up a look at that later. But it's the key is protecting those trophy carp. And unfortunately, there are people who like to shoot and kill the trophy carp, which is kind of the wrong way around in many respects. But so when I was chair in Connecticut, we managed to bring in some regulations that minimized the risk on that. It actually put a limit on the number of fish that you could take and the sizes that you could take.
Yeah.
So we're very successful in doing that. And I think, as you said earlier, I mean, the other key to bear in mind is CAG is a non-profit organization, which means that everybody who's involved is a volunteer. We don't take any personal payment out of it whatsoever.
Right.
And everything's invested in looking after the membership and the mission for CAG, which, as I say, is focused on getting more people out carp fishing and protecting the trophy fish and having fun doing it.
Yeah.
And from looking at the pictures here, which the people that's going to view this later on YouTube,
On our YouTube channel.
he's caught some fabulous fish.
We will post these photos here, and he's gorgeous, beautiful mirror. That koi.
Kois, he's got kois, he's got grassies, he's got buffalo, he's got leatherbacks if I'm not mistaken. Plenty of mirrors. But speaking of that, well,
That koi that you caught, I see. Did you catch it off the fly rod?
I'm not sure which fish it is that you're looking at, but I fun doing that.
Yeah.
If there's a picture with a reel, there's probably one with a center pin reel in the picture.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, that's a little mirror. It's a little mirror.
Yeah. A little mirror point. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
There it is.
There was a pond.
Oh, yep.
See the fly rod?
That looks like a butterfly.
Oh, okay. You're right.
It's a or maybe a koi fantail, which I call them. If
Maybe.
it's,
Yeah. Maybe.
it's orange and white.
Oh, is it quite a big one?
It's probably about it's probably about this big. It's probably about 8 to 10 pounds.
Right.
But still a beautiful
And
fish.
you have a fly fishing rod laying in there with the net also.
That's actually a float rod with a center pin.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's pretty much target.
I bought them online as well, but I think those fish were caught on a float rod with a center pin reel, like silver center pin reel.
Right.
And just great fun. Just very simple, sweet corn on the hook, or actually the other way where I was catching them was using some trout pellets.
Okay. Nice.
The fish were feeding it. The pond one day was covered in duckweed. You know that tiny little duckweed that sits right on top of the pond?
Yeah.
Right.
And you could just see orange, yellow snouts poking up through the weed. I took up some of those pellets and they started feeding on them. It was, great fun. Beautiful finish.
Why would you say is the weight of a trophy-sized carp?
I think that varies from state to state.
Really? Yeah. That's true. I agree with that.
I think in some states people struggle to catch a 20-pound fish because they just aren't there.
Right.
The states that you can get 3 or 4 in a day or more. But anything over 20 pounds, I think good size fish. In some states a double-figure carp might be a trophy fish, but typically something that's 15 to 20 pounds, I think, is and bigger than that is what we would call trophy fish.
Okay.
And I think one of the things that people don't realise is how old some of those fish are.
Yeah.
The state of Minnesota is interesting because they actually spend a lot of money trying to eradicate carp. But one of the things that has come out of that is some of the research that they've done. And they've discovered that there are fish that are 20-pound plus that are 40 and nearly 50 years old in some areas.
Right.
Which really surprised me. So, when we lose a trophy-sized fish, that's a big hole in the gene pool.
Yeah.
That's going to take a long time potentially for that fish to be replaced.
Now how?
They've got fish in Europe, in some of the well-known lakes over there where they name the fish and they're well.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm so proud.
They now have fish in excess of 70 years old. Which is remarkable.
So how old would you say a 20-pounder fish is? How
Well,
old?
that's good. That's a really good question. You look at some of the fish that they're breeding now in Europe with the food resources that they have. Very high energy food sources where the fish can put on a lot of weight very quickly.
Right.
You can see those fish grow. They can get to 20 pounds within 5 years.
Oh wow. Okay.
But here, I think in the US, to give you a couple of examples, I assumed that a 20-pound fish over here was maybe 8 to 12 years old, let's say.
Yeah.
But I was catching fish in Connecticut,
Yeah.
and I caught a very well documented mirror that my buddy Steve and I caught that fish, I think, probably 8 or 9 times over a nearly 20-year period.
Okay.
Now, was that in different spots, or was that you guys going back to the same spot and that fish just hanging out in the same area?
It was a 70-acre lake, and we had limited access, so we were pretty much fishing the same areas.
Right.
But that fish came out, as I say, numerous times. I think when it was first caught, it weighed 27 pounds, and the largest weight it ever reached was 33 pounds.
Okay.
So but its weight would change. So we catch it. I think the second time we caught it was just over 30.
Did that fit?
It went back down to 27, and then it went up again to 31, 32. And we caught that fish over 20 years, but its weight really did not change. So I think the take-home message from that is it depends on the water and the food resources as to how big they get.
Right.
I think they can probably grow to that size quite quickly, but then they kind of plateau. They stay at that weight for a long, long time unless there's a major change in them.
And that's with the right food sources.
Yeah, I mean they found that. They found that in Great Britain. So they found once people started using these high nutritional boilies, the carp began to put on a lot of weight very quickly. They'd stay, they probably reached a plateau weight, they'd stay static, with a few exceptions, but once they started getting, a good food source, they really started to put on a lot of weight.
Wow. Okay, we got a question for him?
Yeah, we've talked on, obviously you've hit some kois and buffaloes and stuff like that. So what is your PB common, mirror, buffalo, grassy, and we'll go koi?
All right.
If you remember all
let's
that.
start with the USA because.
Oh, wow.
So mirror, 46 pound, 4 ounces. And that came out of the Connecticut River. Spectacular fish. One of those fish that was just, blew my mind. I mean, fishing with a good buddy of mine, Dean. And, we knew it was a big fish, but we just kept, increasing the weight. It got closer and closer to the net, which didn't make me feel any more secure about keeping the net in the hook. But when it actually finally rolled into the net, it was a beast.
Wow.
It wasn't a particularly long fish, but the width of it was just extraordinary.
Yeah.
I don't know if I gave you a picture of looking across the back of it, but it's on my Facebook page. There's a couple of pictures of it looking across the back. It was just immense in terms of the width. You could have put a saddle on it.
And for the people that's going to be watching this later, like we said before, like the pictures that he's explaining, we will put these up for you, and you'll be able to see the girth and everything that he's talking about.
And then for common, PB common was from the St. Lawrence River. It weighed 44 pounds.
Up by New York?
And again, it's one of those out of the blue type fish. I caught a lot of fish over 30 pounds in the US. I mean, I was probably averaging 8 to 10 fish over 30 pounds, and maybe more on years for nearly 20 years. But those fish, that fish was just, we've been catching a lot of doubles, the odd 20. I think the biggest fish that day that we had in those 3 days was, I think Ethan had one at about 34, and then we had 44. It was
massive,
just a beast.
Yeah.
Great. Grass carp. I think I've had 4 or 5 fish over 50 pounds. The biggest actually, I don't know the exact weight. All I can tell you was over 60 because.
Did it take a long time for that to come in, or was it just sluggish?
Okay. So my experience with, most of the grass carp I've caught off the surface on float and bread.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just free line, no float, no sink or anything,
just a hook and some bread.
And stalking them. And this fish, when it took, I knew it was a big fish. And I actually had it in the net within probably under 3 minutes.
Wow.
And the grass carp, as I think, is that's when they tend to go absolutely berserk.
Yeah, especially when they come in closer to the bank.
Big fish. I had a mat in the water, one of those big chop mats in the water already. I just got him on the mat, got the hook out, didn't even put it in a sling. We actually weighed it in the Mac. And as I say, it slammed my 60-pound Rubens right down to the stop, beyond stop. I mean, it was, I think on the Rubens it was showing like 68 pounds, but then, the Mac weighed 4, but it was an immense fish.
Oh, wow. Really?
But yeah, I mean, that's koi. I don't know. I don't know what my biggest koi is. It's probably about 18 to 20. So yeah, I mean, it's I think being in New England helps, because there's a tremendous fish up there. I'm already seeing some 50s coming out now, which is exciting. So,
definitely.
I don't know how big we'll see fish. I mean, we had that 60 out on the west coast a few years ago, and a couple of others have got close. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see whether we can get beyond that.
Yeah, it's really hard.
So,
Hold on. What was your PB koi?
Koi, about 18 to 20 pounds. 18 to 20 pounds.
18 to 20 pounds.
nice.
Yeah.
That's very good. Sweet. So, kind of get off a little bit of the subject here. So, we had a good friend that passed away, Colin.
Yeah.
Great.
He's Colin Peters, great fisherman.
Great carp anglers. He always ran the.
I think we lost him, and we actually lost.
Oh, yeah.
2 or 3 other people
We
we
did.
lost. People probably remember Fogg,
Yeah.
who was on the CAG forum for many, many years. He passed away last year, and then another guy, PA Carper Purple,
Yeah.
who has also left us. Unfortunately, it's a great circle of life. It's
It's true.
a tough one. It's a tough one.
It really is. Like, I got to meet him last year when I went to New York in Baldwinsville. He's one of the coolest guys you'll ever meet, and I'll be honest, it's very, very hard to understand him and hold a conversation with him because of his accent. But unfortunately,
I mean, it's like I struggle with some of the accents over here. It's probably the same for you guys with some of us Brits. I mean,
I struggle with my accent right now, so I was like.
James always has problems talking.
I mumble so badly. It's like, what, James? What? Like this.
But it's sad loss, and we'll miss it. But it's a tough world sometimes, especially the past couple of years. I think many of us have lost some good friends.
Oh yeah, definitely.
COVID and other things, So it's we try and remember them and hope they're fishing somewhere in the great skies.
Definitely. All right, I got another question for you. Okay,
What do you prefer the most?
now I'll go with this one here. Who do you look up to as a mentor for advice on carp fishing?
That's a good question.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, man. If you say James Sanders, I'll be shocked.
Well, James, I mean.
Oh, there you go.
I was going to say, would I pick him in second place or third place? But I'll name some names in a moment. But I have to say, one of the things that fascinates me, living here in the United States, is just when you think you know something,
Yeah.
you learn that there's some great anglers over here who often have a different way of approaching the problem, and learning about pack bait fishing and the fly fish method in the UK, but here I think people are taking the method to a whole new level because of pack bait fishing.
Right.
I watch people like Matt Janisweski and Attila fishing with pups and stuff like that in tournaments and winning damn tournaments and using tackle and techniques in a way that is a little novel, and so you get to see people fishing in quite interesting ways over here that you have to kind of open your mind up.
You do. You really do.
One of the things that I was very, very fortunate in being on a fish with a guy called Mike Wilson. And Mike basically discovered unlocked some of the secrets on that before the rest of the world came that way.
Yeah.
And he did that with barnacles. First of all with sweet corn, and then later with maize.
Oh, wow.
Deep corn. And really, when, in those days, to see, a 20-pound fish was pretty unusual. But to see Mike on the bank, or photos of Mike on the bank with 4 fish over 20 pounds from a single night session was remarkable. And to learn from somebody like that was very, very special. And I've been lucky to meet, and get to know many great anglers over the years. And, I'm very fortunate to have Frank Warwick, who's a very good friend of mine. And if ever there was somebody who embodied the carp fishing and the ability to think strategically and
Right.
to be inventive with it, absolutely incredible. I mean, Frank's, kind of came up with, single hook bait fishing, the fluoro boilies, chod rigs, I mean, all sorts of stuff.
Right.
Just remarkable. And he's still thinking. I mean, I talk to Frank very regularly.
Thinking out of the box.
And he's continually coming up with new ideas, and he's still catching a lot of very big fish. Just incredible. And there's a few other people that I mean, we did Mark Pictures and Harry Charrington came over to the US when they did their first In Pursuit of Carpiness video.
Yeah.
And they came and fished with me on the Connecticut River. And to watch those guys fish again, it was one of the things that really surprised me was, I think, they kept everything pretty straightforward, pretty simple. They could pull the rabbit out of the hat if they needed to,
Yeah.
do something special, but for the most part, what they did was pretty fundamental and pretty straightforward, but it was done with absolute precision.
Wow.
They get that cast time and time again in exactly the same place. And their observations of what was going on and their attention to detail, just extraordinary. So to watch people do that, amazing.
Well, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I like that. So, you got a question for him?
Let's see. When you're looking for big carp, how do you scout out for a new swim when you're actually trying to find somewhere that has big carp, and how do you actually go about targeting them?
That's a very good question. So I think what's interesting is that we often overlook what's right in front of us.
Yeah.
And I'll give you a couple of examples. So, where I was living in Connecticut, we were, this is back in, 95, 96. There were people like Nigel Griffin, who had owned Euro Tackle back in those days, Franz Lozinski, who's sadly no longer with us, and a couple of others. We were always off fishing in different places on the Connecticut River. And I think, in some respects, we were, looking for big fish, but not specifically targeting them in quite that way.
Right.
And sometimes you just got to go spend time looking for fish rather than fishing for them.
Yeah. Seeing what shows.
I can't remember who originally came up with this. But
Oh, Richie. Oh.
No, he said he can't. He don't know who originally.
Oh, sorry.
Originally called it.
Yeah, so
came up
Richard,
with
I
it.
think maybe Richard Walker, who is kind of the godfather of carp fishing in England, said that he would rather spend 7 hours finding the fish and then 1 hour trying to catch them than 8 hours sat in the bank hoping.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the key factors. So for me, to give you a classic example, back in 95,
95.
somebody said that there were fish in this particular location. I'm not going to name it right now, but I was told there might be carp in it. I went down 6 weekends in a row.
Right.
Never saw a fish. Never saw one. And I finally went down, and as I'm walking out of this place, a guy walking his dog. Guy was probably late teens,
Mm-hmm.
and we were chatting away. We got talking about fishing, and out of the blue, he said, "Oh, there's some big carp in here."
That piqued your interest, didn't it?
Well, so, really? And so I said, so how big? Oh, he said, oh, they're huge. They go up to about 40 pounds. So my trick then is to go, oh, you mean, hold my hands about, 20 inches apart and go, oh, but like that size? And he went, no. No, this fish was over 40 inches.
Nice.
And now I'm really interested.
Nice.
And I said, and how big? He said, well, the biggest one I know of was 42 pounds. And I said, well, did you catch it? He said, no, my dad shot it.
What?
They got it mounted and sitting above the fireplace in the basement.
He bow fished.
Yeah. So
Okay.
sometimes you hear things in different ways. And the other way is, if you're going to go look for carp in a lake, go when they're likely to be showing themselves. And the hour before dark, first light in the morning, absolutely the key times. And the other thing is, I've walked around lakes in the middle of the night, listening for fish jumping.
Oh, gotcha.
Go look for them in the spawn. Try and figure out when they're spawning and go look for them.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you can see them, sometimes you can't. And a lot of the waters, that I fished in Connecticut were, pretty tannic or had quite a lot of algae grown in them.
Right.
Very tough to see them. And then there's always surprises. I mean, there's Badness Park Pond in Connecticut, which was just down the road from where I live. I studiously avoided fishing there for 15 years, even though I knew there were carp in it. It was one of the few places that Connecticut Fisheries magazine deemed to have carp in. And it was only because we had a big storm came through and blew out the place we were going to fish for a fish-in.
Right.
We switched to that place. No pre-baiting, nothing. We just turned up, got the rods out. I think one person had a 4-pound carp, and the only other fish that came out was 21 pounds.
Really?
And that was like a little light bulb went on. So
Yeah.
I went back for the next 3 nights and 3 days, baited up, didn't fish, just baited. And on the 4th night, I went down. I literally only had like 3 or 4 hours to fish. And I got down there, I think at about 4:30 in the afternoon, cast out, put a few more baits out. First run at 6:30 was 22 pounds, I think.
Yeah.
Next one was just after dark, just after 7. That went 28. And then
Nice jump up.
I had to, I was going out to dinner at 8 o'clock and I had to be home. You know how it is, you're hanging on.
Oh, yeah.
So,
One more bite, one more fish.
Yeah, and it was just over 30 pounds.
One more cast.
32.
One more cast.
So, just got to keep trying. Got to keep trying, but always go look first. Spend some time, invest time looking for them.
Yeah. You got another question, James?
Yeah. We're good. Let me put my eyes on here for a second here. All right, what would I say? Oh, very good. What would you say is your favorite memory or a special moment in carp fishing?
Wow.
Yeah, there you go.
I got a feeling he's gonna go way, way back probably here.
Yeah. Wow. That's a tough one. That is a tough one.
It is a tough one, really. I mean, yeah.
It really is. I mean, there's been special moments just fishing with people where we may not even have caught fish and it's been a lot of fun. And other times where, maybe just one fish.
Like,
Wow.
maybe with your kids.
Giving it to the US. I mean,
Oh, there you go.
I'll give you a recent one. I was fishing Dale Hollow last September.
That's awesome.
I went down there with Adam Fleur and Dean Brooks and I'm having a brain fart now. He'll kill me.
That's a good. It must be a good question.
Yeah,
'Cause-
Alexi.
Okay.
Alexi bike, right? he's a good friend with Harry Charrington. So 4 of us fishing, and I fished Dale Hollow before a couple of times.
Amazing place.
I really wanted to get a good size fully scale, and I ended up with a 34 fully scale.
Wow.
And that was just one of those moments where in a beautiful setting, great people, good friends, and a stunning fish. And it, again, that's what it is about. I mean, it's.
You got a photo of that?
Combining all those factors together.
Do you have a photo of that?
Oh yes, I can get it to you.
Yeah, you send it to me. I will post it up on the
Yeah.
YouTube channel. So.
Yeah, just make a quick note because I forgot by the time I got and had dinner and a glass of wine. But
Yeah, there you go. You got one?
But yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, we're gonna go. Do you flavor your bait like your pack bait? If so, what is your go-to flavor?
That's a really interesting question.
Because a lot of people don't flavor, some people do flavor.
Yeah. So, let's wind the clock back a little bit. When I moved over to the United States, I had to rely on supermarket flavors. So,
Right.
The Kool-Aid, drink
McClure's
flavors,
stuff. Is it McClure's?
and they work beautifully. I mean, there was one Mango Madness. Now there was a flavour. They don't make it anymore, but it was phenomenal. And I used to flavour all my babies with it, and it was great. And then there's a whole bunch of other stuff you get off the supermarket shelves. The one thing I will say that I think has become really key for me now is to minimise how much flavour I use.
Yeah.
Like, meaning very little is better, or?
Yeah, I would rather have an over-flavoured hook bait and a well under-flavoured chum.
I can see that.
And the reason being is I've seen circumstances where the carp, it's almost like if somebody's cooking on the other side of the lake, they're cooking up a nice steak and that blows across the lake. You can just get a hint of it, and you're salivating. I mean, you're just like, wow, But if you walk into a restaurant or somewhere like, or where there's so much flavour in the air,
Mm-hmm.
it almost kills your appetite.
Right.
And it's really tough to pinpoint where that aroma is coming from. So I really backed off how much flavour I put in. I'm also very careful about what flavours I use. So
Right.
if I ever try out a new flavour, this is off the shelf, well known carp flavours, whether it's from Mainline or Rod Hutchison, whoever makes it.
Right.
I'm very careful with it because I think in some circumstances I've come across where even those off the shelf flavours aren't that effective in certain circumstances. So some lakes it works really, really well, other lakes it just doesn't. And why, I don't know, but it's fascinating to see.
Huh. Nice.
So, instead of flavoring so much of, I'm just going to go some panko and oats. Because obviously carp, they're going to eat the bait, but they love sweet stuff, correct?
Well, yeah, I mean, can't really eat anything
Yeah.
much.
I agree with that
So,
too. Hot dogs.
no matter whether it can be sweet, it can be savoury, it can be spicy. I mean, one of my favourite things was to put hot sauce. That sriracha hot sauce.
Oh my God.
The beef called my maize. And really, you'd be amazed how hot it was.
Oh, I imagine.
But the carp went nuts on it. Other flavours that I've used, some of the clove oil is very effective, but I'll only use it on the bait. I won't use it, like the Enterprise plastic baits, the imitation corn.
Yeah.
I'll sometimes put that in something like clove oil, because they really love it. But in a pack or a method, it doesn't seem to work as effectively. It's almost too much.
Yeah. So was the reason why, Is the reason why that you like your bait more plain is it makes it easier for them to find your pickup, whether it's sweet or sour or something like that?
Yeah, I think that's part of it. And as I say, I think the other part of it is it doesn't overwhelm them. I got a bottle of pure aniseed oil, and I got it from a flavor manufacturer.
And what is the name of that again?
You know, aniseed.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's got a very, very potent flavor. I mean, if you've got, you know what, sweet pea, that has anise. Sorry,
Anise.
A-N-I-S-E. But if you get sweet pea, it's got that in it. It's got a very distinctive smell. And I got this stuff, and I probably need to dilute that, you know, 1 in 100, maybe 1 in 1,000. And I fished it, and I put some in the chum. I had carp all over the swim. They were rolling, they were crashing, everything. I never got a run.
Do you think it was because it was in the bait? Do you think
that smell was everywhere in the water column?
instead of it was in a big pile of,
Oh, I got you.
yeah, so he put it in his bait, so if you would have, say you would have did the opposite, say you would have not put it in your bait and put it on your
Just pick
pickup,
And that's what he's been doing.
you probably would have caught more fish.
Yep.
Wow.
I think if you remember Tom Brooks, who used to be on the CAG forum, I mean, he was a great pack bait fisherman.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, it was, you know, he was very, very specific about the importance of the flavor on the puff or the pickup versus what you had in your pack. And yeah, I mean, it's a, whether you're boilie fishing or anything else, it's quite critical.
Yeah. What do you do a lot? Boiling or a pack? Boilies or pack or?
Probably both.
Well,
I mean,
you know, it really varies. So,
Yeah.
Probably depending on where he's at.
to be honest, I mean, part of it is financial. Boilies work. Boilies used correctly are very, very effective, and I've had some great catches on them. Couple of waters I fished, all I used was boilies. And I would go down, I didn't use a lot, I would go down and maybe put 4 pounds in of an evening,
Right.
just to bait up. But I would do that consistently, probably not every night, but every other night, you know, over an area. I like to spread boilies out over an area, don't put them in one area, just so the fish move around a lot more.
Right.
And I'd do that for 10 days, 2 weeks before I fished. And then you'd be amazed. I mean, you just keep topping it up. You don't need a lot of boilies, which is great. In Europe, that's a whole different deal. I mean, it can be, you know, you can be shoveling them in by, by 10, 20, 30 pounds a time. But, you know, when you can buy a 50-pound bag of pea corn,
Yeah.
for what, 12 bucks?
Mm-hmm.
Geez, I mean, 50 pound of boilies is gonna, you know, you're gonna have to take out a mortgage for them. But
That's true.
They're definitely not cheap for sure.
Especially like, yeah.
and the great thing with something like pea corn or you know, maple peas is a big favourite of mine. You can afford to use quite a lot of it. So one of the tricks is if you have quite a lot of small fish, you can afford to put quite a lot of that in and feed off the small fish. And if you read the basic pyramid, you can download on the CAG forum,
Yeah.
on the download.
Okay.
That's based on Mike Wilson's, you know, baiting pyramid, where essentially what you did is his trick was to feed off the smaller fish and make it more competitive amongst the bigger fish.
Okay.
And that worked very, very, a very, very effective way to catch carp, especially big carp on particles, which I think some people go, oh yeah, you can't catch big carp on particles, but yes you can if you know how to do it.
Oh, I totally agree. There's a question, and this is kind of like, I feel like what the question I'm going to give you, I feel like it's kind of sort of what you just answered us a little bit, but I want to see if you maybe go in a little bit more detail with us. What kind of advice can you give on chumming on a swim to bring the carp in?
So, you know, I've probably said a few times, if you have the opportunity and can chum over a few days or even a couple of weeks before you fish,
Right.
that will really allow the carp to get their heads down and feed without any disturbance. Now we don't always have that opportunity, but if you do, it's a great way to guarantee fishing over a long period of time, so the carp aren't spooked. But if you're just turning up for the day, then I always start off very, very slow. I like to know the fish are actually in the swim and feeding.
So would you?
And I like methanol pack for that because you don't need to put a lot in, and you can find out very, very quickly if the fish are there, how many there might be, and if they're feeding.
So would you like chum an area up like 2-3 days before you start your?
Yeah. Oh, if I can do that, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And if I'm going for like a week on Del Hollow, I'm going to fish one area. Yeah, you can start putting bait in. But number one, when you put bait in, you can't take it out.
Right.
So I always like to start a little slow and then build up as the fish start to get more confident and start feeding.
And that's how I am. I throw a little bit, hopefully they'll give me something, and once they give me something, I try to give them a little bit more.
I mean, one of my favorite things when I go float fishing with carp is I'll go around the lake and I'll have some sweet corn, and I'll kind of pop out some sweet corn in a few areas around the lake, and then come back an hour or two later and see if they, the nice thing with sweet corn, you can often see if the water's not too deep, if it's still there. And that gives you an idea to, if the carp are there, you might even see them feeding, and then you can put out a little bit more and then put your bait, you put bait in.
Right.
That kind of stuff is, I think, if you start slow and build up, we used to call it the little but often trick, where you put a little bit of bait in, and then as the fish start feeding, you put a little bit more in, a little bit more, and a little bit more, and build up the feeding frenzy, if you like, doing it that way. Rather than if you put a whole lot in, it's like trying to find a needle in the haystack to find your hook bait.
True. Yeah, I got that. I like that. Good one.
Let's see. What is one of your dream lakes or reservoirs or something like that you haven't fished yet that you would love to cross off your list?
One of them is a lake called Sumbar, Sumbar in Croatia, and I was supposed to be going there in May, but I can't make it because we're supposed to be moving house right then.
Oh.
But it's got some fabulous fish in it, absolutely fantastic fish.
And where is that located at?
It's in Croatia, and I was supposed to be going there 2 years ago, but obviously with COVID, it kind of knocked it on the head in 2020 and in 2021. So we were supposed to be going this year, but I can't go. So
sorry about that.
Anybody go back to that?
I'm sure you'll get there one day.
Yeah. Here in the USA, there's a couple of lakes. There's in Michigan I'd like to go fish. I'd like to go fish in California. One of the places I'd also really like to go fish is actually in Mexico.
I agree.
And one of our previous vice presidents, Mario Koch, who's the Dutch guy who was living in Mexico City for many years, fished a lake in Mexico and had some just extraordinary merit out of it. I mean, stunning fish.
Nice.
And he was making boilies with fresh chilies. I mean, insane things. I mean, I can't remember what the heat factor on them was, but it was pretty wild.
And they probably caught a lot of fish on.
On the CAG forum, some of his exploits, if you search Mario Koch on there, I mean, it was just incredible, some of the fish he had down there.
Wow.
In a spectacular setting. Really, really interesting place to go fishing.
Wow, that's crazy. You got a couple. Oh, so you're living in Florida now.
Yeah.
Is there any? do you do much carp fishing? There's certainly no carp in there in Florida, is there?
So, badly, I'm 6 hours from the nearest proper carp fishing,
Okay.
which is very frustrating. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, when you've spent 26 years
Get that again.
and more carpet than you knew what to do with on your doorstep in Connecticut, I mean, yeah, it's a big change. But you know, that's life. But I fished out Hollow last year in September,
Yeah.
and then in when was it? I think it was June. I went up and fished with a guy called Lane Dillon. Now Lane, I don't think he still lives there, or is from Alabama anyway.
Okay.
But we got to fish the Apalachicola River, which comes out of Georgia into North Florida, not far from Tallahassee.
Okay.
And he very kindly kind of showed me a couple of places there, and we had a blast. I think we had fish to 24. We had a lot of low doubles. In fact, on one of the days, I basically went down with my rod and I would catch, I don't know, 7 or 8 fish, and then I'd put the rod down, wind in, and go and sleep in a chair because it was absolutely. I mean, I gave up counting after 30 fish.
Oh wow.
It was incredible, absolutely incredible. And all I did is I went down. I had a sack of range cubes, cattle range cubes.
I love those things, really.
Yeah, I basically soaked them in
Molasses.
The juice from one of those big catering cans of sweet corn.
Okay, gotcha.
Sweet corn in it. And the carp were on it. I mean, I based up the night before, went down, and they were rolling in the swim. They were almost like, come on, feed us. And it was wild. But, as I say, it was actually exhausting because I'm fishing into probably 15 to 18 feet of water right off the bank.
Yeah.
The fish were right on my feet. So you put them on a 12-foot rod, and you've got this, lever just pulling the rod right down under your feet. So when I go back up there, I'm going to feel a lot more comfortable.
Wow. So, you got another question for him?
Yeah, hang on, but I also want to talk to the live viewers. If anybody that's watching, if maybe one of you guys have a question, I'll go ahead and jump to a question, which will give us time to to write something. But go ahead and let us know whenever you guys or somebody wants to ask a question. Just type it in and we'll answer for you.
I think some people already know. I don't just fish for carp. I fish for many other species, and one of the reasons I'm down here in Florida is we've got access to tarpon, snook, redfish, speckled trout, a whole range of species.
Snook.
And I've just once it warmed up again in the spring, my target's actually going to be some freshwater fish.
Nice.
We've got these smart things here. We look up a clown knifefish, which is a really odd-looking beast, but they're quite fun to catch in freshwater. We've got peacock bass, all sorts of these chichlids, these kind of weird little, crappy-looking fish.
Yeah.
A whole variety of these, snakeheads, those down here. So mostly out towards Miami, so I have to do a bit of searching around, but a lot of fun. Fishing light jigs, lures, stuff like that. Great fun, and on a fly rod hopefully as well.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. Fly rod is it's a work of art, I think.
Yeah, it's another way of fishing, and I think a lot of people sometimes get a little nervous about fly fishing. If you can find somebody who's got some experience to teach you, it's not that difficult. Just take a little bit of patience.
Yeah.
And catching carp on the fly, wow, that's unreal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's, to me, that's kind of pretty amazing if you can catch a carp on a fly rod. I have seen it done before. I've seen a guy fishing with a spinnerbait, and I was shocked how this carp was probably a good 18 pounds. Went after that spinnerbait. And
Yep, I've seen people catch them on all sorts of weird. So my first proper carp in England, my first weighed 16 pounds.
Wow.
And it was caught on a dead bait while I was fishing pike.
Yeah.
I mean, in the Connecticut River, you know, the bass guys catch them on eel chunks and fish baits. I mean, all sorts of stuff.
Wow.
They'll take lure times. I mean, I've seen carp feeding on
Goldfish, everything.
like 4 to 6 inch golden shiners, just sucking the damn things in like you would not believe.
Yeah.
Wild.
I never would do that, but I could believe it. So.
I mean, one of my kind of, I mean, other than fly rod, I mean, you know, it's, you can catch them on rubber worms and stuff. It's more about preservation.
Yeah, if you could do it on artificial corn and artificial maggots and all that kind of stuff.
They'll eat crayfish, all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
I was talking to somebody the other night, and I was, you know, telling them about I was fishing on this particular area where there's a very, very big mirror carp, and I always wanted to catch one on one of those rubber crayfish.
Okay.
There's a company called Savage Gear that makes some really lifelike ones. So I decided to have a go. And these big carp would sit in the weeds, and I saw this fish. It was well over 30 pounds, and I cast this thing out, and these little rubber crayfish actually have some like an air pocket in them, so they sink very, very slowly. And as it dropped through the water, it's about 5-6 foot deep. As it dropped through the water, this damn carp just followed it down and down and down, and I'm like, oh my god, it's going to take it. Out of nowhere, out of the weed, came this smallmouth bass, weighed just over 4 pounds, I think. Nailed it just before it spooked the carp. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah, they will take it. They really will. And I think that's a whole game plan, I think, for people who, you know, maybe they don't want to become, you know, sitting on the bank for hours and then like many of us do.
Right.
Want to be proactive and get out there fly fishing or fishing with, you know, rubber jigs and stuff like that. Great way to have a go for carp. I mean, it can be humbling, but it's when you cook one, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Like, oh.
We've been sitting here talking about, you know, catching carp, different type of waves, and I'll tell you one person that I've seen catch some carp, and I definitely want to try it sooner or later, and that's Richie Eldridge.
Yeah, unbelievable.
He does some good ice fishing
Oh
and
my
catches carp through the ice.
Iceman.
Yep, that's what we call him. We call him the Iceman because he's catching. I mean, I haven't seen no pictures.
He has.
Has he?
Yeah.
I was gonna say I haven't seen them this year.
Yeah, I think you just did a live video earlier.
Yeah, he did one the other day. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, Richie's been
Beast.
doing that for a few years, and I think it shows you.
Yeah. Good
I
job,
think when
Richie.
it's fishing through the ice for carp, it's all about location. You've got to figure out where they are because they'll show up in quite a small area.
Yeah.
I love ice fishing, but I haven't caught a carp out of ice yet, and I almost want to just like hook up with Richie, you know, show me your way. You know, just teach me.
Little as possible in the cold weather.
Yeah. So
I think it's like, you know, we talked about earlier, you know, spend, you know, more time looking for them, finding them.
yeah.
And when you do find them, then you can catch them. I think that seems, from everything I've read and you know, on the brief occasions I've talked to Richie, that's the key. You've got to know where the fish are. You can be on a lake, but they're just not in your car, and you're not going to get them.
Now before Tommy's question, I had a question, and it's just basically kind of like let's just hear your thoughts on this situation. Now, a lot of people, especially here in the United States, they kind of down the carp fishing, you know, and then bass fishing is the way it is. You know, there's always a conflict, you know, between the bow anglers and the bass anglers, where they said, "Oh, the carp is a bad species because they rooted up all that stuff. They, you know, they automatically go after the eggs and tear up the environment." I guess. And now, in my opinion, I feel like it's not to say the circle of life. I mean, it's the carp feeds off the bass feeds off the carp. You know, I feel like
It's a dog. It's a dog eat world.
it's like it all helps out the same way.
I think what's interesting, one of the reasons we were successful in Connecticut
Yeah.
in introducing some limits on the size and number of carp that you could take. What helped is the fact that in many of those waters where we had big carp, you also had big largemouth, you had big smallmouth, you had big pike. I mean, it really was an interesting scenario where the carp were clearly not overwhelming the environment that they were in. And other big fish, other fish species were feeding on the carp fry and carp eggs, doing very, very nicely, thankfully. Now, what you know, if you read that NACA article, which I'll post to you, what I learned was that in areas like New England, you might only get one successful carp spawn once every 5 to 10 years.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And yeah, this is again, you know, a lot of this research came out of Minnesota and Wyoming and places like that. But the fact that, you know, carp don't necessarily successfully spawn every year in these areas is largely down to the fact that predator species can get into the spawning areas and they basically just do a number where they decimate the eggs and the carp fry.
Yeah.
So very, very, very few carp fry make it to adulthood. So
and is that because of like, is that not just because of like bass and stuff like that? Obviously bluegill and crappie are going to eat them too.
Yeah, but the interesting thing is in areas where they have a lot of small carp, it's usually because the spawning areas have very low oxygen levels. So low, in fact, that those crappie, bluegills, perch and stuff cannot live in that environment.
Oh.
So what happens, it becomes like a nursery for the carp. The predators can't get in there. The carp spawn. They get a lot of fry that don't get killed or die off. And by the time they leave that area, they're too big to be preyed upon.
Oh, okay.
So that's why, you know, some of the research they've done in Minnesota is to actually try and prevent the carp getting into these areas or changing the environment. So, you know, the question is, why are those areas low oxygen? Well, there could be a lot of stuff. It could be agricultural runoff, it could be wastewater runoff, a whole bunch of stuff.
Right.
So, you know, when we hear about the myths of, you know, carp and damaging waters, you have to be very clear about what causes the problem and understanding, you know, how to deal with it, because it may not just be sometimes it's got nothing to do with the carp, as we've seen.
I totally agree.
Areas you can have some of the best fishing of all species without any issues.
Correct. Ricky, just to answer your question, we're based at Team Fish Fighters, and we're based out of Indianapolis, Indiana. But since you're on here, would you like to ask Iain a question personally?
Also another, Mr. President of Carp Anglers Group, what would you say to the audience on here as how to join Carp Anglers Group?
If you go to, the easiest way is you go to joincag.com.
Okay.
You can find us on the Carp Anglers Group Facebook page. Lots of activity on there. We're getting close, I think, very close to 5,000 people on there.
Wow.
There's a CAG forum which has got a wealth of historical information going back to the early days. Back to
so much information on that thing.
1993.
Yeah.
So, and then there's some great articles on the North American Carp Angler Magazine, which you can find online. As I say, I'll post a link to that. Yeah, join CAG, and we've also got our website, carpanglersgroup.com.
Yep.
Got a lot of details and guides on there, as well as how to join as well.
Yeah. Still nothing. Okay, that's fine.
Are you on our Team Fish Fighter page? Or
Yeah, it's
you
Team
on?
Fish Fighters.
Okay. I just didn't know if he was.
Yeah, which we'll eventually share to all these other pages.
Yeah, I just didn't know if he was on yours or Team Fish Fighters.
No, Team Fish Fighters. No. But do you got any more questions? I'm like.
No. Is there anything that you know that you want to add?
Yeah.
You know, you want to give. I mean, obviously you have a Facebook page. Hang on. He said I see. He said Ricky Shamella Jr. if I pronounced that right. He said, I've seen Iain before in a carp anglers group. He's a great man and great angler. Yes, he is. That's one of the main reasons we are actually... Do you know him?
You guys just gave him a big head.
Yeah. Now, see, he was the president. Now he's Mr. President. Thanks, Ricky. Appreciate you.
Mr. President.
Nah, but Iain, he does, obviously he's done a well job of obviously being the president, or he still wouldn't be the president. Obviously a lot of people respect him.
I respect.
Yeah, I mean, I do, for sure. Big question real quick. Whoa, he just got...
Yeah, sorry, one of my lights just went out. I don't know what happened there. It's alright.
No, you're fine.
Put more light on there. There we go.
Okay. Quick question. Do you know if you were are you gonna be able to make the chili meat this year? Is he coming to the chili meat?
No.
I personally won't, because I will be heading across the big pond, but I'm hoping Barry Howard will be up there.
Yeah, I think Barry's he is going to show up. There is going to be a CAG booth over at the Carp Chili.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I made it out. When did I come out to the chili meet? That was 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, over at the old West Side Bait and Tackle.
That was a great fun. We had a
Man.
great blast. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was, you guys put on a really good event. That's fantastic.
Yeah,
There were people from all over coming down.
Oh,
yeah, we got people coming from Illinois,
Yeah,
Ohio. This year we got people coming all the way from North Carolina, South Carolina, I think.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Trying to
No,
get
it's
the.
a great event. I'd encourage anybody who's in the area to come and hang out. They're great food, lots of good people to chat to.
Yeah.
And yeah, you guys put on a great event.
Well,
That's
thank you.
February 19th, all day long.
So-
Ricky, we do both. We have a mixture of some pay lakers and more and wild water.
Yeah.
Nothing against any pay lakes, or anything like that, but we're trying to, we was trying to bridge the gap between pay lakes and
Just learn off
wild
each
water
other.
guys, and this is really for like our audience.
Mainly for carp care.
Yeah, we've definitely promoted carp care. We've even spent money out of our own pocket and gave away over.
Landing
We
mats.
still have so many landing mats that we still haven't gave away, which we still will this year. We're just in a different, I want to say maybe a different phase in
Yeah.
life now, where a lot of us are gonna start focusing more
Right.
on the wild water side.
Yeah.
We may still do a couple pay lake videos here and there. We will definitely follow the Midwest Carp Master. We'll follow that, but we're gonna try to get you guys a lot more wild water footage this year. That's gonna be our main focus.
Yeah.
We did our thing on trying to bridge the gap and everything like that. We feel like maybe it could go a little bit further with some help of the pay lake owners, backing us up on us trying to help protect their investment or whatever it may be. So,
Absolutely.
Joe Letts does a great job.
yeah, man,
He does a great job.
he has the #1 pay lake in the country, if you ask me.
Huh?
That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I think unfortunately there has been some antagonism between the wild water guys and the pay lake guys, which doesn't do anybody any good in the long run. And you guys have made big efforts and have been very successful in improving the conditions and care of carp in pay lakes. So I think it's a process.
Yeah.
And
It takes time.
It definitely is.
changing people's minds doesn't happen overnight.
Oh, it doesn't. It doesn't.
And teaching, when you're trying to teach somebody carp care, when people wasn't raised up, to protect the carp, it was a lot different, growing up. Even for me, I didn't know nothing about carp care and all that stuff. But at the same time, I think one of the main problems is, and that's why we buy the landing mats and give them away, because some people can't afford a cradle, some people can't afford a landing mat,
You know what? Some of this stuff is not cheap, and
No.
showing people that they can get even a yoga mat or a piece of foam and put it inside
a baby changing table mat.
Yeah.
Anything like that is better than sticking them on the rocks.
Yeah.
Even if you put it in a net and you put it on wet grass, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that.
No.
In fact, it's probably better than a lot of
for sure. Because them rocks and stuff get up underneath their scales, and it can really hurt. It can really hurt a
Takes
fish.
that slime off.
I would say 90% of the fish I catch never leave the water. I keep them in the net. You know,
That's pretty cool.
Unless it's, you know, big fish, I'm going to weigh it. You know, unhook it, release it right there and then, and you know.
So
we
you
just have
go.
to help learn how to do it. That's all it is.
A lot of times you're in, you got your waders on and or high, you know, knee highs, whatever, you know.
But we're still gonna, you know, obviously I'm a pay laker by heart. I've been a pay laker my whole life, but you know, I love fishing in the wild. It's
Just more relaxing.
It's
Get away from life a little bit.
the thing is, you know, when you go to a pay lake, you know, they pretty much weigh all their bigger fish that goes in, so they can kind of keep track. You know, when you go to the wild and you're fishing somewhere like New York, you don't know what you're gonna catch. And that gives me a whole different thrill, because when I hear my drag going, you know, I don't know what's on there, you know.
Yeah, something that, one of the reasons.
I think one of the things that I mentioned earlier is about the age of some of the fish.
Yeah.
That probably aren't quite, you know, we're only becoming aware now of how old some of these fish are. So if you take those out of the wild, they don't live that long in a pay lake environment, that's an issue.
Yeah.
Because you'll lose fish. You know, I mean, it's going to take a long time to replace them. I think people are beginning to understand that.
Yeah, they are.
The equivalent. I mean, they're not pay lakes the same way in the UK, but they're waters where the fish are very valuable, and they'll take great care of them in terms of how they unhook them and everything.
Yeah.
Those fish are living, you know, 40, 50, 60 years, and if we can, you know, develop that same kind of awareness here in the United States, we'll have some great pay lakes, and it will, you know, it'll work out.
Yeah, and you're right, Ricky. Bow fishing, it does got to go. I mean, obviously, you know, that's way above any of our pay grade. That's gonna be more of a government thing that put them laws out to where.
My opinion with bow fishing.
Yeah.
I don't.
We did it. You know, we did it in Connecticut, and it caused a bit of furor. We had some, you know, kickback on it, but you know, there are limits now.
Zach, that's what I mean. I don't see anything really wrong.
As long as you're gonna eat it.
Yeah, with bow fishing, as long as you eat it. If you're gonna eat that fish, that's fine. But just shoot just for the fun and.
I follow, but there's a Facebook page called Rough Fish.
Right.
And focus on catching all sorts of, red horse suckers, all these things. And I mean, they're already starting to figure out that because of the age of some of the buffalo, the buffs, and the age of particularly the alligator gar, these fish are under a lot of pressure. And you start killing off those big fish, you have made a huge dent in the population.
100%. Yeah.
And I think a lot of states are starting to wake up to the fact that you cannot just go out and slaughter fish in the way that they're doing. It just doesn't.
I mean, it's dumpsters. They like those.
They leave them on the banks.
And I mean, especially in the bow fishing tournaments, they're just killing so many where you got a huge dumpster full, probably over 200 just in a dumpster, and they just take it for fertilizer. I'm like, what in the world?
Yeah, that's not on the sport. I mean, that's a whole different mindset. I don't know what it is.
It's degraded.
They're having tournaments. That's exactly what it is. The bow fishing guys are just getting together and having tournaments.
When people shoot fish and then just dump them by the side of the road, put them into trash cans, or leave them at boat ramps. That's really antisocial. That's pretty fundamentally wrong. And I think a lot of states are starting to tighten up the laws on that. And nobody wants to deny anybody the right to go shoot or whatever they want to do. But I think as long as we have some well-imposed limits, size limits in particular,
I agree with that. I agree with that.
I think we've got to find a compromise somewhere.
Yeah.
And hopefully, one day soon or in the near future. I mean, it'd be nice if it was this year, but I don't think that we'll probably get that lucky for that to be,
That's why I've always been involved with CAG, because one of the things here is the more people we can encourage to get into carp fishing, the better it will be. And I know there's people kind of go, but we have more carp fishing than them. But it's nothing like Europe. States and fish a lake all on your own if you want to.
Right.
And catch carp at pretty much all them lakes too.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't mind people taking the odd fish to eat either, as long as it's not a, you know, trophy or a specimen size carp. You know,
Right.
if people want to catch the odd small fish, great, fine. Yeah, that's how the US was grown. Yeah, how the United States came into being is, you know, people harvested from the land, you know, whether it was a duck or a turkey or a fish or whatever. And but yeah, let's check the big fish. That's the key. Because
Eat
these
what you
fish
kill.
are much older than we were dealing.
Yeah.
And you know, once they're gone, they're gone. That's it.
Yep.
Well, we've been talking for a while, man.
Yeah, yeah.
I really enjoy talking to you. I mean,
Feeding myself. I mean, I'm sure my dinner's sitting on the table.
yeah. Yeah, I think I got some pizza at home.
Yeah, my wife she just clicked in too, so a few minutes ago.
Hey, and I want to thank you for, you know,
Your time, knowledge.
I know, yeah, the knowledge is great. Sorry for a little bit.
I know how much you really value what you guys do out there and,
Well, thank you.
and all that stuff. And hopefully I can get back up there at some stage. And
Yeah, definitely.
we can go and wet a line together. I'd like to do that.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Even if we have to meet up at like Dale Hollow or something.
Yeah, let's go to Bank sometime.
Hey, wherever it is, we'll go fishing.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
should.
That's what it's about.
Yes, it is.
All right, Ian. Well, thank you for coming to our show. You know, the little time we had with you. I mean, it was great talking to you. You got so much information. It's an amazing. And what you do for the Carp Anglers group is crazy.
Getting up there in years now, so.
How old are you now?
How old am I?
Yeah.
I'll be 65 next
No
month.
kidding. Yeah.
Yes,
I didn't think you would be 65. Really. You look younger.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you, thank
Yes,
you. And again, there'll be a check in the mail to you as well for that.
That's what I'm talking about.
You're still third though. Well, thank you, Ian. We appreciate you. We're going to go ahead and get off here with you so we can finish the rest of the little podcast. Like I said, we look forward to seeing you sometime in the near future. Good to see you too. Good talking to you.
All right, Carp Anglers, thank you for joining our show. Again, this here is going to be also on our YouTube channel.
Yep, you'll definitely be able to see that. Sorry if we're not looking directly at the camera because we're trying. You know, we got
He's
we
having a
got a
conversation
video. You know, with Ian here. But also, who do we got next week?
I'm not sure. It's going to be. I think it might be next week. Next week or
The week after.
Or week after that. Brian
Hauser, one of our teammates.
He's going to do. We're going to do a little interview with him, pick his mind about carp fishing, and
you know, you guys can ask him all the questions you guys want. You know, yeah, you guys will be able to ask him any questions that you may want. He's also, you know, we're going to talk to him about, you know, just being on Team Fish Fighters and maybe some of the videos he's done. He also has a pickup.
a little pickup business.
A little pickup business too. What's going on, Ricky? While we're still live, you said you got a question for us.
Oh, you got a question?
Yeah, he said I got a question for you guys, and we'll do that while we're still live. But go ahead. Might take a minute, let him type it out, what he's going to say.
But, I mean, again, check out our YouTube channel called Team Fish Fighters.
Definitely do that.
If you guys haven't seen it on our YouTube channel, hit that like button, subscribe.
Share, share too. Please share our videos. Okay. Here's his question. He said, "What do you guys think? What you think that's the most important part in carp fishing for wild rivers?" Could you specify a little bit different or a little bit better on that question, please?
As he's typing. Oh, it's on video type. There we go. As he's typing. But again, yeah, if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet on Team Fish Fighters, we've got varieties of stuff there.
Teaching people how to fish,
how to
make bait.
And bait, you know, it's just out with the wild carping. It's also pay laking if you guys are interested in pay laking. And I tell you, I was talking to a guy. We're actually going to start doing maybe a lot of cooking on our shows. Pathfinders.
Pathfinders, yep, and that's located over there in Beach Grove,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So I was
Yeah.
talking to him for about a good hour last night, and he wants to come and hang out with us and all that stuff, and we're going to try to do some cooking, with the Pathfinders equipment.
Yeah,
cooking.
they have everything.
Oh my gosh!
Not just
survival,
survival gear too. They have all that. But let's jump over here to Ricky real quick.
Yeah.
From what I've learned, location that carp hang in rivers, I would say you want to look for pockets.
Yeah.
Because obviously the fish are going to swim in the faster water, but just say in a river, if you come to a bend, the water's going to shoot out to the other side, and it's going to be fast moving on the other side. So you would want to fish inwards because your bait's not going to be flowing down the river as much. Now, if you're on
Closer to the banks.
yeah, if you're on a different, you're in a different section, and the water's moving really, really fast close to the bank towards you, you want to try to cast to the other side, because if all that water's shooting over by you, that means the other side of the bank is a lot calmer, and then fish will tend to pocket up in there because they're not having to burn as much energy.
Right.
Because being in the fast movement current, they're going to burn more energy, and and as everybody knows, in some rivers and stuff like that, there's not a whole lot of food source as far as like Dale Hollow would have, because they have a lot of zebra mussels and stuff like that. You don't get a lot of you don't get a lot of that in rivers.
No.
I mean, we certainly
Crawdads,
yeah, certainly here. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah.
If not, you can message me
I
personally,
agree.
or James, or any of the guys on the team, and we're all willing to help any carp angler that's out there. But we got the Delaware River here.
Oh.
Okay, where are you located at, Ricky?
Delaware? Maybe.
Probably Delaware. So we got
Maybe
Delaware.
Delaware.
But hey, we appreciate everybody tuning in.
Yeah.
Please like the video, share the video. He's in New Jersey.
Oh, nice. Well, thanks for watching.
I've heard there's some nice carp, but that's pretty cool that we got people all the way from New Jersey that's watching this. But like I said, we appreciate everything that you guys do to help us. And one last thing that I want to put out there before we actually sign off here. We have the carp chili meat coming up on February 19th.
You guys don't need to miss that.
We didn't get to have it last year.
Yeah.
And we have a list longer than my arm of vendors that are going to be here for your carp needs.
Yeah,
we got bait shops that are going to be here. We got stand companies that are going to be here.
No, we're not going to come.
He's not going to come?
No, Steve Starfield's, he can't find the metal.
No, I think he can find it. I think it's too expensive.
Okay.
And he'll have to raise the prices up so high
Yeah.
to where
Steve's-
it's probably it's not going to be worth his while,
Yeah, South
which
Florida.
is understandable.
Yeah, he ain't gonna make it.
But the thing I want to get across is, if anybody out there would want to or would want to donate something to Team Fish Fighters that we can raffle off during the chili meet.
Yeah.
Now, the things that you guys give us, it don't have to be fishing related. If somebody just wants to donate something just to the cause, because the cause is this money that we're going to generate from the chili meat goes into our fund, which in return
Goes back into the carp
goes
community.
back into the carp community, which pays for trophies. We also have a junior fish fighter team too. If one of our junior team fish fighters, if he breaks a rod or whatever, we pay for that.
Yeah.
We try to help them out as much as possible.
Yeah. So. Oh.
But hey, we're out of here.
Yeah. We lost it.
But we're still here. Appreciate you guys. Tune into our YouTube page. Share the videos, like them, subscribe to our channel. I'm sure James will put something somewhere down here, whether this corner or that corner.
Maybe that corner. But hey, but thank you for watching our show. Thank you, Iain, for talking with us. Again, the carp chili meet's on February 19th Don't miss it. Lot of carp vendors is going to be there.
Yeah, and like I said, if you guys want to donate something to the cause, you know, get a hold of myself or James Sanders or any of the guys on the team,
Right.
and maybe, you know, even if you're out from out of state or something like that or whatever it may be, we can get you an address to where you can ship it to us.
Oh yeah, that was definitely.
You know.
So, again, James Sanders, Tommy Pearson.
Thank you. Talk to you guys later.
Bye.